Okay, let's be real. Have you ever asked an AI for help, and it just gives you back garbage? Something totally weird or generic or just useless? Yeah, we've all been there. It is super frustrating. But what if I told you there's a secret to unlocking amazing results? And it's a skill that anyone can learn. Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. You're about to learn how to become the director of your AI and get the incredible answers you're actually looking for. So let's dive in. So first, let's just tackle this core problem head on, right? That feeling you get when this revolutionary AI tool you're using just doesn't seem to get what you're saying. So why does that happen? You ask for some marketing ideas and it spits out party themes, or you ask for a quick summary and it writes a novel. The truth is, it's probably not the AI's fault. It's more of a communication problem. And here it is. This is the absolute key to everything we're going to talk about today. It really isn't magic. The AI can only work with what you give it. So better instructions, what we call prompts, they lead to dramatically better answers. This whole practice actually has a name: prompt engineering. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but don't worry about that. It's really just the skill of writing clear instructions to guide the AI. Think of yourself less like a coder and more like a really good movie director. And, to be a great director, you really have to understand your actor. So let's pull back the curtain for a minute and see how these AI models actually think, because it's probably not what you'd expect. The tech behind tools like ChatGPT or Gemini is called a large language model, or an LLM for short. Now, this thing has been trained on a truly mind-boggling amount of text, like books, articles, basically the whole internet. But it's not trained to understand things like a person. It's trained to recognize patterns. And what's so fascinating is how simple the core idea really is. At its heart, an LLM is just a very, very sophisticated next word predictor. So if you give it the phrase, "After it rained, the street was," it calculates the most probable word to come next based on all the text it's ever read. Wet has a super high probability. Dry has a really, really low one. It's all just statistics and patterns. And because it's just a pattern matcher, it doesn't actually understand the world, which leads to some pretty big limitations. For instance, it can confidently just make up facts. People in the field actually call these hallucinations. It also might not know about really recent events, and it can even be inconsistent, giving you different answers to the exact same question. And this is precisely why it needs our guidance. So how do we give it that guidance? Well, that's where a handy toolkit comes in. I'm going to give you 3 simple but really powerful steps you can start using like right now to write way better prompts. I absolutely love this analogy. Just think about cooking for a second. If you start with fresh, high-quality ingredients, you are setting yourself up for a delicious meal, right? Well, your prompt, that's the main ingredient you're giving to the AI. Okay, rule number 1, and honestly, this is the most important one by far. You have to be incredibly clear and specific. Vague inputs will always lead to vague outputs. It really is as simple as that. Just look at this example. A vague prompt like "restaurants in San Francisco" is a total gamble. You might get a list of steakhouses for all you know. The AI has no idea you're a vegetarian. But the second you add that specific detail, that one crucial ingredient, with good vegetarian options, you totally change the outcome and get a result that's actually useful to you. All right, number 2, you have to understand that prompting is a process. It's a conversation. You're almost never going to get the perfect answer on the first try, and you know what? That is completely okay. The key here is to treat it like you're collaborating with the AI. Look at its first response. What's good about it? What did it miss? And then you just refine your next prompt based on that. The trick is, don't start over from scratch. Just build on what you already have. And finally, one of the most powerful techniques is to show the AI what you want. Don't just tell it. If you need a specific style or a particular format, give it an example to follow. This technique is called few-shot prompting. You're basically giving the AI a little mini training session right there inside your prompt. You give it a couple of examples of the input and output pattern you're looking for, and then you ask it to complete the next one. It's kind of like saying, "Hey, here's how we do this. Now it's your turn." All right, so theory is great and all, but let's see how this toolkit actually works in the real world. We're going to walk through a couple of examples, and you'll see the transformation from a kind of bad prompt to a really great one. So here's that classic problem we talked about. You ask for event themes, and you get back Hawaiian luau and 80s dance party, which is not exactly right for a professional conference. But look what happens when we just apply rule number 1, be specific. We add the context, professional conference, customer experience, hospitality industry, and boom, suddenly the results are perfectly tailored and actually useful. Now, let's see that iteration process in action. So our first prompt gives us a decent list of colleges, but it's just a big block of text. For our second prompt, we don't rewrite anything, we just add a new instruction. Show these options as a table, and instantly it's way more organized. But then we notice a detail is missing, so we refine it one more time. Can you add a column showing whether they are public or private? And this is the payoff. Look at that. Through just a simple 3-step conversation, we went from a messy list to a perfectly structured, super easy to read table that has all the info we need. That right there is the power of iteration. Okay, so we've covered the problem, the theory behind it, and how to put it into practice. Now comes the most important part. It's time for you to take these tools and just start experimenting on your own. This quote from a Google engineer really says it all. This is not some rigid science, it's a creative skill. The more you play around with different ways of asking things, different approaches, the better you're going to get. And hey, once you get comfortable with the basics, there's always more to explore. You can try asking the AI to think step by step to get more accurate answers on complex problems, or even ask it to critique its own response. The possibilities are huge. So we've gone from frustration to foundation. You now have the 3 key steps to get way better answers from any AI. Be specific, iterate, and provide examples. The AI is an incredibly powerful tool, but remember, you are the director. So the only question left is, what are you going to create?